No longer should you be concerned with what you may obtain from the kingdom, but rather be exercised about what you can give to those who live in dire spiritual poverty. Gird yourself, Simon, for the battle of a new day, the struggle with spiritual darkness and the evil doubtings of the natural minds of men. Peter and the Morancha Jesus walked through the garden and talked of things past, present, and future for almost 5 minutes. Then the Master vanished from his gaze, saying, "Farewell, Peter, until I see you with your brethren." For a moment, Peter was overcome by the realization that he had talked with the risen Master, and that he could be sure he was still an ambassador of the kingdom. He had just heard the glorified Master exhort him to go on preaching the gospel, and with all this welling up within his heart, he rushed to the upper chamber and into the presence of his fellow apostles, exclaiming in breathless excitement, "I have seen the Master. He was in the garden. I talked with him, and he has forgiven me." Peter's declaration that he had seen Jesus in the garden made a profound impression upon his fellow apostles, and they were about ready to surrender their doubts when Andrew got up and warned them not to be too much influenced by his brother's report. Andrew intimated that Peter had seen things which were not real before. Although Andrew did not directly allude to the vision of the night on the Sea of Galilee, wherein Peter claimed to have seen the Master coming to them walking on the water, he said enough to betray to all present that he had this incident in mind. Simon Peter was very much hurt by his brother's insinuations, and immediately lapsed into crestfallen silence. The twins felt very sorry for Peter, and they both went over to express their sympathy, and to say that they believed him, and to reassert that their own mother had also seen the Master. 2. First appearance to the apostles. Shortly after 9 o'clock that evening, after the departure of Cleopas and Jacob, while the Alphaeus twins comforted Peter, and while Nathanael remonstrated with Andrew, and as the 10 apostles were there assembled in the upper chamber, with all the doors bolted for fear of arrest, the Master, in Morancha form, suddenly appeared in the midst of them, saying, "Peace be upon you. Why are you so frightened when I appear, as though you had seen a spirit? Did I not tell you about these things when I was present with you in the flesh? Did I not say to you that the chief priests and the rulers would deliver me up to be killed, that one of your own number would betray me, and that on the 3rd day I would rise? Wherefore all your doubtings, and all this discussion about the reports of the women, Cleopas and Jacob, and even Peter? How long will you doubt my words and refuse to believe my promises? And now that you actually see me, will you believe? Even now one of you is absent. When you are gathered together once more, and after all of you know of a certainty that the Son of Man has risen from the grave, go hence into Galilee. Have faith in God. Have faith in one another. And so shall you enter into the new service of the kingdom of heaven. I will tarry in Jerusalem with you until you are ready to go into Galilee. My peace I leave with you." When the Morancha Jesus had spoken to them, he vanished in an instant from their sight, and they all fell on their faces praising God and venerating their vanished Master. This was the Master's 9th Morancha appearance. 3. With the Morancha creatures. The next day, Monday, was spent wholly with the Morancha creatures then present on Urantia. As participants in the Master's Morancha transition experience, there had come to Urantia more than 1 million Morancha directors and associates, together with transition mortals of various orders from the 7 mansion worlds of Satania. The Morancha Jesus sojourned with these splendid intelligences for 40 days. He instructed them, and learned from their directors the life of Morancha transition as it is traversed by the mortals of the inhabited worlds of Satania as they pass through the system Morancha spheres. About midnight of this Monday, the Master's Morancha form was adjusted for transition to the 2nd stage of Morancha progression. When he next appeared to his mortal children on earth, it was as a 2nd stage Morancha being. As the Master progressed in the Morancha career, it became, technically, more and more difficult for the Morancha intelligences and their transforming associates to visualize the Master to mortal and material eyes. Jesus made the transit to the 3rd stage of Morancha on Friday, April 14, to the 4th stage on Monday the 17th, to the 5th stage on Saturday the 22nd, to the 6th stage on Thursday the 27th, to the 7th stage on Tuesday, May 2, to Jerusalem citizenship on Sunday the 7th, and he entered the embrace of the Most High's evidentia on Sunday the 14th. In this manner did Michael of Nebadon complete his service of universe experience, since he had already, in connection with his previous bestowals, experienced to the full the life of the ascendant mortals of time and space from the sojourn on the headquarters of the constellation, even on to and through the service of the headquarters of the super-universe. And it was by these very Morontia experiences that the Creator Son of Nebadon really finished and acceptably terminated his 7th and final universe bestowal. 4. The 10th Appearance, at Philadelphia. The 10th Morontia manifestation of Jesus to mortal recognition occurred a short time after 8 o'clock on Tuesday, April 11, at Philadelphia, where he showed himself to Abner and Lazarus and some 150 of their associates, including more than 50 of the evangelistic corps of the 70. This appearance occurred just after the opening of a special meeting in the synagogue, which had been called by Abner to discuss the crucifixion of Jesus and the more recent report of the resurrection, which had been brought by David's messenger. Inasmuch as the resurrected Lazarus was now a member of this group of believers, it was not difficult for them to believe the report that Jesus had risen from the dead. The meeting in the synagogue was just being opened by Abner and Lazarus, who were standing together in the pulpit, when the entire audience of believers saw the form of the Master appear suddenly. He stepped forward from where he had appeared between Abner and Lazarus, neither of whom had observed him, and saluting the company, said, "Peace be upon you. You all know that we have one Father in heaven, and that there is but one gospel of the kingdom, the good news of the gift of eternal life which men receive by faith. As you rejoice in your loyalty to the gospel, pray the Father of truth to shed abroad in your hearts a new and greater love for your brethren. You are to love all men as I have loved you. You are to serve all men as I have served you. With understanding sympathy and brotherly affection, fellowship all your brethren who are dedicated to the proclamation of the good news, whether they be Jew or Gentile, Greek or Roman, Persian or Ethiopian. John proclaimed the kingdom in advance. You have preached the gospel in power. The Greeks already teach the good news, and I am soon to send forth the Spirit of truth into the souls of all these, my brethren, who have so unselfishly dedicated their lives to the enlightenment of their fellows who sit in spiritual darkness. You are all the children of light. Therefore stumble not into the misunderstanding entanglements of mortal suspicion and human intolerance. If you are ennobled by the grace of faith to love unbelievers, should you not also equally love those who are your fellow believers in the far-spreading household of faith? Remember, as you love one another, all men will know that you are my disciples. Go then into all the world proclaiming this gospel of the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of men to all nations and races, and ever be wise in your choice of methods for presenting the good news to the different races and tribes of mankind. Freely you have received this gospel of the kingdom, and you will freely give the good news to all nations. Fear not the resistance of evil, for I am with you always, even to the end of the ages. And my peace I leave with you." When he had said, "My peace I leave with you," he vanished from their sight. With the exception of one of his appearances in Galilee, where upward of 500 believers saw him at one time, this group in Philadelphia embraced the largest number of mortals who saw him on any single occasion. Early the next morning, even while the apostles tarried in Jerusalem awaiting the emotional recovery of Thomas, these believers at Philadelphia went forth proclaiming that Jesus of Nazareth had risen from the dead. The next day, Wednesday, Jesus spent without interruption in the society of his Morontia associates, and during the mid-afternoon hours he received visiting Morontia delegates from the mansion worlds of every local system of inhabited spheres throughout the constellation of Norlatiadec, and they all rejoiced to know their Creator as one of their own order of universe and